Welcome to Solutions, when men come out of the shadows to testify, giving tips in manhood, honor the codes of integrity, and give out real solutions for soul survival. Today, we have on the show a man of constant growth and development. He's a visionary and a wordsmith, a man who understands the third eye connections to knowledge and foresight. He's a thinking man, a leader amongst men. He's an example of positive energy around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the businessman, the philanthropic community servant for platforms like BossupStock and the Culture Studios. Welcome the author of the book, 3/5 of an Emcee. He's a CEO, and his name, his brand, and his lifestyle is very important. Give it up to the Emcee from the legendary Poor Righteous Teachers, Wise, Intelligent.
Peace. How's it going?
Wise, how you doing, man? How's everything going?
Fantastic.
Are you ready to drop these gems and answer these questions today?
I guess so. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? I showed up.
Showed up. Here we go. What person did you meet or see that gave you the drive towards the man you are today? Who or what defined you?
What defined me? Or who defined me? I wouldn't say a who defined me. I would say a what defined me. I mean, that was the moment I realized that I realized my environment. I started to acknowledge the environment. You know, when I started to pay closer attention to the environment that I was being raised in, the environment that me and my peers were embedded in, I start to have questions. You know, I had questions, and those questions led me down the rabbit hole to becoming. You know what I mean? That's what ignited my becoming. You know, so I'm still on this journey of becoming. You know.
For those watching right now, what would give us one or two of those questions that you start to ask yourself, either later or early?
How did we get here? You know, as a people. You know, and what's the point? What is the point of this life, this existence, this struggle, this, you know, even considering the individual triumphs, you know, collectively there is a struggle. So, you know, interpreting my reality within the context of the group, you know, that's really what led me there. So the questions were, you know, how do we get here? Where are we going?
How do we get? So in your interpretations thus far through your experiences, what has led you to say the answer to some of those questions? What do you have so far? I want to announce my first book, 10 Most Effective Ways to Reignite Self-Love. It's a deep reflection and deep dive into yourself, how to make yourself better overall. Check it out. It's available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. If you want more info, email me at solutionsformen@sheen1.com. or the author at sheen1.com. Let me know. You can RSVP one if you like. Now back to the show.
You know, as far as answering those questions, who are we? You know, I feel like who we were kind of gives a better answer to who we are and who we're becoming. You know, because who we were, we're no longer who we were. You know, we're no longer who we were. We are now we're more of a conglomerate of history, experience, and struggle. You know, our experiences are completely different than previous generations and ancestors as well. You know, so while DNA and heritage is what it is, at the end of you know, when we look at who we are today, you know, we don't function in the same space that our ancient ancestors function in terms of perceiving reality. You know, something as simple as a language change. You know, not speaking the language of your ancestors will have you seeing the world differently. People don't really understand the power of linguistics and how language works, and in terms of thought and processing thought. And, you know, and the overall perception of reality. You know, language means a lot. So thinking in English makes us different. You know, we think in English, you know, so, for example, you know, in some of the languages that our ancestors spoke, you know, there were no ifs and maybes. I might do that. Maybe. I'm not sure. It wasn't, there were no words that were equivalent.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Just a quick pause in the show to let you know what's going down with Solutions for Men. Visit myfavoritretravels.com for all Solutions for Men merch. Everything you purchase goes to the overall production of the show. So if you like what we got going on here, you can support and get you some merch for Solutions for Men. We're now tuning back to the program. Thank you for this 30-second break. Enjoy the show, man. I love the fact that you said we speak in English. I travel the world and I've lived in certain places, and I was always taken back being an American that I was only taught one language, while most people I come across know 5 to 7 different dialects. So they think in different languages, and they're a little bit more advanced, intelligent-wise than we are.
Yes. When you think of language, everything is embedded in that language, culture, everything. Language is like mRNA. It's messenger RNA. You know what I mean? So that alone, makes us a little different. But at the same time, we're still connected to that heritage and ancestry. So
absolutely.
So we're like an amalgamation of several ingredients, and that being the case, we have the capacity and the ability to become. So we can create ourselves now. We can create ourselves. We can become what we desire to be, whatever we desire to be as a people and as individuals. We're in a very unique position, and I think that once we come to that realization, we'll get about the business of developing institutions that will inculcate or codify who we are, or who we're becoming, or who we desire to become. So the next generation will have a standard operating procedure or a code of conduct for becoming who we desire to be.
I'm smiling at you because it's rare times I get to put my entire mental repertoire on display, and I feel like I can do that today. No offense to anyone else, but today I feel like I could really have this conversation with you on this show. But before we go there and express all the diaspora and the dialect, do you have a vision board to where you think things could be, or your personal life?
Yeah, I have a personal vision board. And the thing with the vision board is it's living. It's like a human being. It's the vision of a human being. So it's living, it's breathing, it's changing, it's adapting, and it's being modified as I go. I guess that's the whole point of becoming, and change being the only constant in the universe. Things change. We confront things, and we adapt. We absorb. We absorb things, and it changes us. We adapt to things, and that changes. Whether we're going around it or becoming a part of it, it's still a change. So yeah. I have a vision board, and it's based primarily on sovereignty. But then when sovereignty is the goal, all of the changes make sense.
Let's stay right there with your goals. If you can give us one apex goal that you've reached and one apex goal you're currently chasing.
The apex goal that I would say I've reached would be clarity. Clarity. I think I've reached a point of clarity where I can see the goal. I can see it. I can see what it looks like in fulfillment. It's like if you can't picture it, you can't achieve it. It's like we talk about liberation. You look back through civil rights movements, Black liberation movements. You look at all of these movements throughout history. But have we ever defined what liberation looks like to us? What does liberation look like? Does it look like you chilling on the beach with your family? You drinking out of coconut cups? Is that what it looked like? Because if you can picture it, then you can manifest it. You know what I mean? You can. It will come to fruition because now you can see it. So you need that clarity of vision. So I would say clarity. Now I think I'm clearer now than I've ever been in my life.
What is one apex goal you're currently chasing?
Sovereignty.
I know you got the sovereignty, but within that, is there a
Yeah.
certain flag post that you have to get to before you get to the overall synopsis of sovereignty?
Yes, the members, in other words, well, the people that are connected to me, my immediate family, my sons, my wife, you know, um, reaching the level of clarity that's pertinent to their role in achieving sovereignty. So when they come to me and say I'm clear, they say, "Yo, I'm clear. This is where I'm going." Then yeah, I think that I'm definitely chasing that.
Being clear is something that most, in my opinion, most young men from my generation fought with. We just went to school or didn't go to school, but the next day was just the next day. We didn't have a clear path to where we're going. And throughout that, I've learned that different things, speaking things into the universe really works. Do you use affirmations to get you along your way? If so, what type of affirmations do you use?
I rhyme, I write them, I rap 'em. I've rapped a lot of affirmations over the years. But
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I write it, record it, and then play it back, and repetition. But yes, affirmations are great. All forms of speaking, speaking things into existence is real. So I talk to myself. I talk to myself. I talk out loud. I talk to myself in third person sometimes. I ain't crazy, but I do. But you have to. You have to speak to you. You have to be mindful of how you talk to yourself. You got to be mindful of what you say to yourself. What you're convincing yourself of. What's possible. What the capabilities. You have to be very clear about what you got to be. You got to be present. You got to be present in your own head. You got to know what you're saying to yourself, because those things manifest. That's what comes to bear. That's what the thoughts that you meditate on most. They are what take shape in the form of their physical equivalency. So they become physical. So
now I have something called an Audible question. Ding, 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 ding. This is not on the docket. This is something you triggered in my brain that I want to discuss with you momentarily. Here we go. I got 2 questions here. I just came up with this. Do you believe words are spells?
I can't say, well, that's why they call it spelling, right? I can say, well, that's why they call it spelling. We cast these spells. But yes, I believe that, in the context of what a spell is and what the intention of a spell is, yes.
Okay, so now we have this established. When you think of voodoo, what comes to your mind of what we've been taught about voodoo and the history and the cultures of voodoo?
The power of the subconscious mind. That's how it's the ability to impress your will upon the subconscious.
Right. Okay. This is interesting talk. First of all, I want to take this 2 seconds to shout out to my boy Gerard. He is an avid fan of you, and he wanted me to tell you what's up. I don't usually do that, but I know how much he loves hip hop.
Peace, Gerard.
Yeah. Peace, Gerard. I'm going to say this. So with today's structure, our hip hop is structured. We all know the type of music and the type of energy you portray throughout your career. But when the words and spells that are being cast throughout our music throughout time, do you think it hurts us as a people to celebrate within our pain the way we do, or should we be talking about the times more instead of getting to the bag?
Yes, I think you're right. Yes, you're right. It has a very profound effect and impact on us as individuals and the group. That's what, words on rhythms are more powerful than words spoken into the air. Words on rhythm. I mean, because music is a vehicle for the inculcation of cultural concepts, right? So exactly. When you attach words to this rhythm, it has instant access to the subconscious mind. It's going directly to your subconscious mind. So if your conscious mind is not conscious to the point where you are aware of the effects of what you're taking in, it will manifest. It'll take up occupancy in your subconscious mind. It will manifest things in your reality, and that's what happens. That's the power of music. I mean, you think about it. You know, you look at the top 10 rap artists right now on any playing on any streaming platform and any radio station right now. You emulate any of the behavior of any of those artists, you're going to jail where you're going to die. That's just what it is, man. I mean, I can't even get around it. You know, this is what it is. You know, but that's the power. That's always been the power of music. And where we come from, music played, it had a major role in the community and culture, right? So they were, you know, the drums. There was the talking drum, you know, but the rhythms. So we had drums of dance, drums of war. We had, you know, ceremonial drums for weddings and birthrights and rites of passage and things like that. So there was music involved with everything, you know, the birth of a new life as well as the funeral, you know. So it was always music. So that right now is being used by major corporations to manifest what they want to manifest in the world. You know,
Right.
They're using our tools, you know, and we're not only the instruments by which they're doing this, we're also the target, you know.
Absolutely. Well said. I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking that question in and answering it. You spoke earlier about you started to ask questions as a young man that helped liberate your mind and start you on that journey of clarity. Are there any books that you read that you felt saved your life or changed your perspective to help grow you that you can share with us today?
Absolutely. First of all, you know, growing up in what the world know as the 5%, you know, 5%, gods and earths, 120 lessons, supreme wisdom, you know, that ignited in me the desire to study. I wanted to read. It made me want to read and learn more about us as a people, as a group, you know. So it made me dig deep, you know. So I started reading then. That set me off on a trajectory of reading everything I can get my hands on, you know. And after that, I think the most profound book, the book that had the most profound impact on me was Dr. Amos Wilson's Falsification of African Consciousness. The Falsification of African Consciousness is the book that really centered me. You know, it centered me. Made me understand things a little differently. Yeah, a lot differently.
Absolutely. If you haven't read that book, make sure you go out and get it to balance yourself and get you on that same journey. Now, we spoke about books. We spoke about you reaching clarity and sovereignty. You spoke about that being the same as for your family to get to that point where they have a clarity where you can now boost them and actually provide a better terrain for them to walk down on. With all of that reading you've done, all that sacrificing, all that rhyme over words over rhythm and making sure the world is a balanced place, what did you sacrifice?
I mean, I guess the world outside of me would consider it a sacrifice, you know, because I made a conscious decision, you know, not to make music for the sole purpose of making money. You know, I made a conscious decision to make music that I felt would document the journey of a people, the experiences of a people. You know, so that's the vantage point from which I made music, and still to this day, you know, when I'm writing rhymes or whatever, or even when I'm thinking in rhyme, it's about documenting something. So 50 years from now, 100 years from now, when they dig up those old archives, dig up that music, you know, and listen to it, they'll say, well, this is epistemology, you know, it's an epistemology of a people. It's a people's interpretation of the world and their justified beliefs about it, you know, and it's summed up in rhyme, you know, in music. So that's what I want to happen, because I don't want heads going back, you know, 50 years, 100 years from now, digging up the archives and saying, you know, these dudes were all pill poppers. you know, they were all pill poppers. You know, the black man, black woman was pill poppers and ass twerkers. Not that I don't like twerking. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah,
it's all good. But
it's a
what
balance.
I am saying is, we're very dynamic people. We're very
Hmm.
dynamic people. We're thinking people. We're, we're tapped in. We're tapped into things that the world don't even understand, really, especially when we're talking about rhythms. And vibrations. Everything in the universe is the product of a vibration, of a rhythm. And we're locked in. As a people, we're locked into rhythms like nobody else on this planet, man. And that's what creates this. That's what created the world. So
I like that. I appreciate that. The rhythm, the rebel, the rhythm in the
absolutely,
mind, everything. Talk to
absolutely.
me. Talk to me about your lowest moment. Now you make these conscious choices. You do these things. And that's a lonely walk. Can you talk to us about one of your lowest moments? But we just don't want to hear about your lowest moment. We want to know how you got up. What things did you apply to get out of your darkest moments? This is for the people right now who are listening that might need your advice or your experiences to make them whole again.
You know, I like to believe that in your darkest moments, in that struggle, that's where you find your purpose. So I think, I believe that, the thunderstorm is as much our friend as the sunshine.
I like
So
that.
we're in that space. We're in that space sometimes. We're in that space a lot. The darkest moment comes a lot of times. If you ever look at if you look at it from an economic perspective, you look at look at the stock market, you look at the graph of the stock market, you see the volatility of it, how it's going up and down. It's always up and down. It's always up and down. A person's life will look the same way when you talk about the good times, the bad times, the ups and downs in a person's life. You'll get that. Everything from deaths in your family, loss of loved ones, as well as personal setbacks, and and misfortune. So that I would say darkest moments. Coming from where I come from, I grew up in a dark moment. I grew up in a dark moment, and I grew up in the projects. I lived in a homeless shelter when I was 14 years old. So the dark moments, that all of that, but how you get up, how do you get up? Because you already know, you're looking through these things. You look through these things, and if you look at them, if you're in the moment and you're present in that moment, you'll get clarity of thought. You'll Okay, this is temporal. This is what change do. This is what change do. But for me, the homeless shelter at 14, this is when I started to engage the 5% around the same time. And that helped me realize that this predicament wasn't who I am. It's something that I'm going through. It's an experience. It's an experience just like the first time I had ice cream. It's an experience. And I'm going through this thing, so that's what it was. So I knew that it was temporal. I knew it was temporal, and when you understand that, then you have the clarity of thought to change the situation. You know, because you already know it's simple. It's something that it's an experience.
Looking for
And
purpose building within the darkness.
yeah, absolutely. You find your purpose in the struggle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you believe that it was all written for you already?
That's the tough one. I wrestle with that. That's one of the existential questions that I I wrestle with a lot.
Let's
Because
do it. I told you we could go deep today. We could go. Let's go.
being a human being, you have this thing we like to call free will. The autonomy of free will. You know, um, and that's what we like. That's where we find our divinity as human beings. We're like, okay, what makes us divine? Free will. That's what separates us from other animals, from animals. You know what I mean? So we have the ability to say no. We have the ability to go the opposite way. Like, for example, the bee the bee is gonna work work the hive. The bee is gonna work the hive, the honey protect the queen. That's what the bee is gonna do: pollinate the flower and keep it moving. The bee is never gonna one day say, "Yo, I'm gonna chill out at the spider homie house. I'm gonna go chill in this web with the spider. I want a web like that. I want to go
Yeah.
live in this web like that." The bee is not gonna do that. The bear is still gonna function like a bear. The fish is gonna function like a fish. The bird is gonna function like a bird indefinitely. We can count on that. we can count on that. But the human being is not so easily predictable, because of free will. I mean, sociology is not an exact science for that very reason. You look at physics and say, okay, I'm gonna take these 10 bowling balls to the top of this hill and roll them down. We can pretty much predict how fast they travel and where they're gonna end up. What's gonna happen with the bowling balls at the end of going down that hill. But you can take 10 human beings up the top of that hill and say, just go down the hill. You can't predict what's going to happen with those human beings. Some of them just going to sit there and say, I'm chilling right here, put a little pallet here, have a little picnic with my girl, get that bottle of wine, we're going to chill. Some human beings going to roll down the hill, you know what I mean? Some of them going to roll down the hill or whatever, you can't really predict what human beings are going to do, and that's free will. That's where we consider the divinity at, so if it's written, do I really have free will? If it's written, am I really making decisions? Am I really in control of the journey and the destiny? Human beings don't like to believe that they're not in control, of anything, so.
We can go down the influences that make you think that you said yes, but we're not going to go that far.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of, that would be great.
Yeah, it's a heavy question. It's a heavy question. So my son's 16 years old, man. We have these conversations all the time. He has all these questions all the time. And he go in really deep on it.
Well, talk to me about fatherhood. And I just don't want to know about fatherhood, all the good and mushy times. I'm talking about the times where I like you, I love you, but I can't stand you right now. You're not listening. Talk to me about that with being a father.
I don't remember too many of those moments, because I function in a space where I'm going to ultimately let them make the decision.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to ultimately let you make the decision. Again, it's experiences. It's a journey. It's an experience. So when they make a decision, you come to me for advice. You come to me for advice, I give you the advice. You do what you're gonna do with the advice. And when if it doesn't go the way you planned it to go, now you come to me to bail you out in some kind of way. I mean, I'm gonna make you push harder to figure it out on your own, how to get out of the situation that you created for yourself. But at the end of the day, they're making decisions. It's like my eldest son graduated college. He went through the whole process, degree in biology. Biologist, forensics biology, right?
So I got a degree in biology too. Yeah.
So you already know. But he has so many other things that he's into. That he's like I don't put no pressure on him to make any decisions around any of that. It's like you'll figure it out. You smart. You got through that. You smart enough. You smart. You got through that. That's just how they are. I mean, they function in a different kind of headspace than I do, but I see some similarities. So I let them grow. I let them make decisions. I let them make mistakes. Because that's where you're gonna learn. That's where the learning is at. Ain't no losses. All the L's of learning.
Absolutely.
So
how important is it to leave where you're from to develop yourself to where you're going?
Leave where you're from. It's important. I mean, because you can't leave from nowhere else. I don't think we can leave from nowhere else. I mean, you either leave from where you are. Leave from where you are.
No, not leave, but leave. Leave.
Oh, leave from where you're from, your name, your hometown, and all that.
Yeah, you could leave mentally or physically. How important it is to leave where you're from to develop yourself to where you're going.
Sometimes it's very important. Sometimes it's very important. And I don't know if we should look at it as if we're leaving a place, or as if we're creating a place, a new place. Is environments. It's environments. The environment, for example, where I grew up. I didn't create that environment for myself. My parents. That was my parents. My parents moved there from the South. They came up from the South, moved to New Jersey. settled down. That was the right decision for them. They created that environment, that reality for themselves.
Right.
And we dealt with the consequences of that environment, right? So I have the ability to create my own environment. I have the ability to change my mind and change my environment. And that's how I like to look at it. So sometimes you have to change the environment because that environment wasn't created to the specifications required for you to become who you are, so you have to leave that environment. Yeah, that was your parents becoming.
That is an excellent answer. I can honestly say I've never heard it put like that before. You didn't choose your first environment. Your parents did. That was their dreams. That was their association and what they felt was safe. You have to go make your own environment. Absolutely. That is a gem right there. Yeah, I like that.
It's like, for example, my parents left the South. My parents from Greenville, North Carolina, right? They moved to New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey, right? So they left the environment that their parents were in, right? They left that environment. They went to another environment that they thought would be more conducive to their development and their becoming, better environment for them to raise their children or whatever they thought. They went there, and that's what happened. So that's the autonomy. That's free will and human autonomy. The sovereignty of thought, right? Sovereignty of thought. So we can change our mind. We can change our environment. We can change our self-perception. We can change. Change, man. Change is a powerful thing. So yeah. Sometimes you have to leave where you're from. You have to leave where you're from. Sometimes you have to, like they say, if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you, right? Because sometimes the people around you are not conducive to your becoming. So you have to move on.
You have to move on. Absolutely. What have you procrastinated on and why?
Everything, man. Everything, man. I'll be sitting on projects like music projects, man. I got so much music, man. So many albums that I've recorded over the years that I've never put out, just record, because for the most part, music, making music, writing music, it's more so me explaining my life to myself, explaining me to myself. Is me trying to understand me, more than anything else, so I'm writing from that perspective too. So I'm like trying to figure my own head out, so I write it. And so yeah, a lot, man. Business ideas, a lot of stuff, man, I procrastinated on. I feel like sometimes I feel like the world's biggest underachiever sometimes, man. I just be like, I do, man. I do, because I don't be going hard at anything. I don't really go hard. I don't go hard. I didn't go hard with rap music. I didn't go hard at rap music. My aim wasn't to be the best rapper. My aim wasn't to be the richest rapper. My aim wasn't, one of those my goal, Again, I was documenting things, man, and making life make sense to me,
Well, one could say those were your goals and you was being the best at achieving what you wanted it to be like and sound like. So that's going hard for something.
That's definitely a way to look at it. That's definitely a way to look at it. Yeah, absolutely. I can ride with that. See, that's what I'm saying. The next interview.
Certain chefs, they don't cook for the masses. They cook their specialty dish. If you better like it, and this is how it is. Not changing it. I hope you like it.
Absolutely.
I have a two-part question for you, which is a little intrusive. So I'm gonna ask it in two parts. If you don't want to answer, it's okay. But if you do want to answer, please drop a gem on what you think the experiences can help someone else that's listening. Are you ready for the question?
Yes, I guess so. Maybe. You be asking some questions, bro.
What was abusive to you that you thought was love?
Was abusive to me? That's a powerful question right there. What was abusive to me that I thought was love? I thought it was love, but now I think it was abusive.
Actually, it was very abusive. It wasn't helpful. At the time, your ignorance or you didn't understand it, but it was something that was hurting you, but you actually thought it was absolute love and healing.
Hmm. You know, it might be a little general, because I don't have any personal experiences of abuse, anything that I would consider abusive. Um, but I will say that peer to peer, what we demanded from each other as young men,
Mm.
we thought was love, it was really abusive. Growing up in the hood, and young men with no men around, we have these misconceptions of manhood and masculinity that we impose on one another, that that at the same time that we're uh, hyper masculating ourselves, we're becoming hyper masculine or whatever you call it. At the same time that we're doing that, we're degrading women by default, because we're not seeing the balance in the male female equation. We're making, we're creating this perception that men are an island, that we're sole creators, sole controllers, sole governance, you know, um, and the sole and final authority on everything. So we miss a very important part of existence, the balance. So simple things like disrespect. We overreact to what we perceive to be disrespect. Because of the way we perceive manhood. So you feel like somebody disrespected you over simple things like stepping on your shoe. You know what I mean? It's like, because that's the way we were raised. That's the way we taught each other, peer to peer. I mean, growing up in the projects, man, I knew all my friends' mothers, but I didn't know none of their fathers. I've never met any of their fathers. So no fathers were present. So it was peer to peer manhood training. You know.
That is
Yes.
that is deep. You made me think about how many fathers I knew. I knew a couple. I would say I knew a couple fathers, but for the most part, it was single parent homes. I would give it a 90% run, maybe
Yeah.
95% run. And that, I'm from the Bronx, so I
Yeah.
definitely
Oh, wow.
understand.
Wow.
Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. I'm tired of people doing that. From the
Listen.
Bronx, yes, it's the most beautiful place on earth. We have everyone there, every personality that you ever want to meet in your life.
It has to be. I mean, it has to be. Where struggle is most acute. That's where all the beauty is. The beauty is equal.
Right.
So I get it.
Second part of the question is how long did it take for you to recognize it? And how long did it take for you to accept it?
It it took me a while to recognize it. It took me a while to recognize it. I felt it though. I
Mm.
couldn't articulate. I couldn't articulate. I didn't understand what it was. You know, and when you do feel it, it's perceived as weakness. The feeling itself, that yo, this might be a little over the top. We might be looking at this all wrong. But it wasn't until later that I really could understand it. That was a part of that clarity. For me. Coming to that understanding. So I
Audible question. Not on the docket. This is a question I have for you. Do you suffer from survivor's remorse?
I'm I don't consider myself a survivor.
Speak on it, please.
I, because like I said, here's the thing. I I suffer the same consequences as anyone else from the group that I belong to in every situation in this society, no matter what it is. You know what I mean? I don't care if I was a billionaire. If I was a billionaire, they're not gonna let me. If they don't let me in Barron's because I'm black, they don't want to open the door, and I'm Oprah Winfrey. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter her rods, wherever she was. But that's the thing for me. It's like, what are we surviving? What have we survived? What have we survived when we're still embedded in an anti-black power structure? the power structure itself is anti-black. So surviving is a day-to-day thing. It's every day for us. We it's not a day that we leave our house without having to deal with that reality. It's what it is. It's what it is.
You have definitely helped and healed me. I don't know if anyone is listening, but that gem right there helped me, because I'm going to be honest. I talk about this all the time. I sometimes in places and I start to think, man, I wish my homies was here to see this, but they're not going to be at this moment. So I feel that's some type of survivor's remorse. But you said we got to survive. We all have the same consequences. And we absolutely do. I absolutely think about how many people who are great, who have been shined on and been great in public and then torn down later. It feels like all the greats ends with the systematic takedown and dethroning of everything we hold dear to be excellent or greatness. Because no one's perfect, but they take away, they shine a spotlight on everything we do that's of the people that are great and take it away. So absolutely.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That's why I struggle with our interpretation sometimes of Black excellence and what that means. Because we tend to isolate Black excellence in individuals. This individual achieved something now that's indicative of Black excellence. Like for example, we'll say Barack Obama, first Black president of the United States, him and Michelle, they represent Black excellence. If does Black excellence aspire to European values and cultural concepts? Is that really what Black excellence is? Our achievement in their space, in their cultural constructs? Is that what Black excellence is to us? Because it's usually, the title is usually applied to people who achieve, Black people who achieve things that white people have been doing by default of being the dominant culture and running the power structure. So it's like Dr. Amos Wilson would be Black excellence for me, because Dr. Amos Wilson created a social theory and code of conduct and operational procedure for the group to function and thrive. Dr. Hannibal F. Freak, people like that, who created the Council of Independent Black Institutions. It was macrocosmic. It was Black excellence at scale. What does that look like? What does Black excellence look like at scale, as opposed to an individual? Is it because the Black girls are dominating tennis? Is it because we're dominating those spaces?
Just like the man who bought the 40 acres of land, which became Black Wall Street back in the day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, O.W. Gurley.
Yeah.
Right. It was O.W. Gurley. Now that's another thing. It's I'm like, okay, I get it. And that's an example. But when you look at O.W., even with Black Wall Street, 95% of the people that lived in Black Wall Street were poor. Right. 95% of the people. The wealth was concentrated into very few hands. Like 4% of the population controlled all the wealth in Black Wall Street.
Resources.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the entrepreneurs, the businessmen did they have a collective Black social theory, or were they functioning within European values, in terms of economics? These are the questions that we have to ask. So then we have to ask, what is Black excellence?
Rapper King Los, and I'm paraphrasing, said in a line on a freestyle, he said that we go to HBCUs and then we pledge Greek. How do you feel about that comment?
This has been an ongoing debate. This has been going on since the time of Marcus Garvey. So wow, that's a very powerful and profound bar.
Yes, it is.
It is. That's it is, as much as it's barbaric.
Hey, it's a great bar, and I never forgot it. I said, "Oh, that's really good."
Listen, yes, again, like I said, we're embedded within a European power structure. A power structure where the collective social theory is European. It's a European collective social theory. It's European perception of the world. So everything that is valued is European. It's placed, the highest value is placed on things that are European. So that's what the falsification of African consciousness by Amos Wilson is about. They falsified your consciousness. You have a European conception of reality in your black body. You know what I mean? So you're walking around here with African heritage and black skin and all the DNA of ancient Africa, but you have a European conception of reality in your mind. So no matter what you do, with that falsification of consciousness is going to benefit the white power structure more than it benefit black people. That's just
you are thinking in English.
Thinking in English.
Yeah, that's tough. I like that. I really like that. Well, let's have a little fun with these questions. We only got a few more to go. I want to thank you for your time. Let's keep it rolling just for a little while longer here. Did you ever get a sex talk? Who or what gave you sex education?
Honestly, you know what? This might go back to that abusive question. It's maybe or you thought it was love, but it was maybe might have been abusive. But I mean, I'm 13 years old. Remember it like it was yesterday. We had a lot of street time. We were street kids, you know what I mean? We had a lot of street time, single mom, a bunch of siblings, the neighborhood, being the red line neighborhood, being underdeveloped, so we running around and we getting into a lot. So my first encounter, my first sexual conversation wasn't even a conversation, it was a game. It was a whole game with older sisters. I was 13, not my sisters, but older women, older women. They were 20, 21, 19, 20, 21. I'm 13. My friend like 17, 15, and we're playing cards. They have us playing this card game, and it's like strip poker, like, and ironically, they end up taking off all their clothes. That was the introduction. That was the introduction. It was like, that's something teachers are going to jail for today.
You're right.
People going to jail for that every day today. You know what I mean? But that happened.
It happened, and it happened a lot with the age disparities on both sides. And we can't just discount that from history. It was happening a whole lot, but a lot of people are paying for it today.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And and us, back then, we were little dudes, we were young dudes who, like I said, the peer-to-peer manhood training made us think that was a part of manhood.
I will back up your story with this. When I was about your age, between 13 and 15, there was a adult club that only serviced kids our age with live female dancers, but the only thing is it had a 2 soda minimum. Understand, yes, people, a 2 soda minimum. You had to buy 2 Sprites and you had to stay there all night.
Look, it ain't funny.
It's not funny, but can you believe it?
But it's a wild, wild world out here, Ben. It's a wild world. And if you're not paying attention, I'm telling you, people are strange out here, man. People are strange, and some of the strangest things happen.
And I definitely am not supporting the culture, but like you said, when you got men raising men, young men running around having a good time, we didn't know that was wrong. We just knew that we was in there and made sure we had our money for the soda.
Right.
That was our only motivation at the time.
Absolutely, because your peers are on you all the time about, virginity and everything else. So you like, you think that being a virgin is emasculine. It's effeminate or something. So you gotta lose your virginity somehow, some way. You
gotta make it happen.
So you gotta get rid of that. It's holding you down. It's a burden.
Before high school, right? You ain't gonna go to high school like that, are you?
Right. So you have these perceptions. Exactly. Yeah. You ain't going to high school like that. So it's like that. So the perceptions of manhood were wrong. We had, and some of us carry those into adulthood.
Absolutely. Some of us
So
never grow out of a certain age of maturity.
Exactly.
So which leads me to my next question. Should there be a basic training program amongst men, a level of education of skills traits given out? Now, I know we have our after school programs, our church programs, but I'm saying outside of that, I'm talking about community-based building, where we talk about financial literacy, communication, how to change a tire, gardening, general wealth building like stocks, like you talk about, elderly, speaking with the elderly with intent. Do you ever think we can get to that where if I was your neighbor and you talked about stocks the way you do, I can send my kids over there to learn from you. You can send your kids to learn from me for certain things, but we're neighborhood building. We're not relying on after school programs. We're actually doing it in community with responsibility, having flea markets where we teach our kids about finances, where they can sell lemonade or any other thing that we're selling in the neighborhood. Do you think we can actually get to a cultural space where we can develop these things?
Yes. Before I left Trenton, New Jersey, I was a part of an organization started by an educator that ran the school that my son went to. His name is Baye Kemet. He created a manhood training program. It's called It's called Man Up. Man Up manhood training. So it entailed all of those components that you just mentioned.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it.
And he was the founder of a African-centered school called the Garvey School. The Garvey School was a CB institution. It was one of the Council of Independent Black Institution schools that was created by Dr. Hannibal Afrique. So this is what I mean. That's Black excellence. When you have this collective social theory and code of conduct that creates a standard operating procedure for a group, it scales Black excellence as opposed to confining it to individuals.
One thing, it scales. Equity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I you know what? That is something I would love to hear. And I would love to get more information about that brother. If he's still doing it, I would love to promote it as much as possible because we need those things. I had to learn how to tie a tie from my basketball coach. I didn't have no one to teach me. If he didn't teach me loop, swoop, and pull, I would have went to school without knowing how to tie a tie. I would have looked ridiculous to most people. So those things need to be in place. I need to be ready before the process starts.
Before you need to, right?
Yeah. You have to be ready.
Ready, so you don't have to get ready, right?
Absolutely. I want to poll you. I want to put the husband hat on you really fast here. It's time for the husband hat. These are some of my fun questions I like to ask. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
As a husband, would you rather have a great woman or a great wife?
I don't think the two are mutually exclusive.
Explain.
I think that for me, they're one and the same. I think they're one and the same.
Explain.
My wife has to be a great woman, right? Yeah. My wife has to be a great woman. And I need a great woman for a wife. I mean, that's just what it is.
That's just what it is.
That's what it is. I mean, for me, it's the same. They're the same for me.
So are you saying greatness turns into wife, or wife turns into greatness, or she walks the same parallel path?
What I'm saying is you have great women who might not be great wives, right? You have, and I don't know a great wife that's not a great woman. That's the thing for me. I don't know a great wife that's not a great woman, but I know some great women who are not great wives.
Absolutely. I like that question. I appreciate that. Absolutely. How do I approach a man that I have problems with? How do I establish the value?
I mean, honesty, honesty, and I think that we have a tendency to, when we're in that space and we have a problem with someone, that problem shows, it permeates through it seeps out of our pores a lot of times. So the energy we come with is problematic. we're approaching people with problematic energy because we have a problem with it. When we should look at the problem from the solutionary side and approach with solution as opposed to problem. So we have solutionary energy as opposed to problematic energy.
Solution, shout out.
Yeah.
We talk about leaving a legacy, but we mostly ignore major steps. Do you have a will?
Yes.
Now, what
will.
Drill trust? Why do you think in our community we run away from putting insurance on each other, having wills, and having the proper paperwork, so we don't have to rely on someone else to pay for our funeral, and we can arrange things to be paid for before our death?
Man, it's so many layers to that, to why. It's stacked, man. It's like peeling an onion back. On the one hand, you have the fact that we've been defrauded. We've been frauded throughout history by insurance companies and policy keepers and banks and everything else. So we're hesitant to go that route. So we have this: keep the money in the shoebox, keep the money under the mattress, keep the money in the bra under the left titty. So
not the left.
The level, right? So we're in that space, but and then there's the lack of knowledge of how these tools work, how these instruments work. There's no real financial education around insurance policies and how they work, and how you can use an insurance policy, how you can have a life insurance policy and borrow against it, and build something with it, start a business against a life insurance policy. Those things are not being taught. And that's what you're saying about that, that whole system,
financial skills, and everything, the
ecosystem that sustains human life and the community, but that's why, man, I think it's an education thing. We tend to fear what we don't know.
I think we also, without certain intangibles for knowledge, in most of our communities, we don't have a doctor, a dentist, a person in each field of skill that we can consult with to get proper information to make sure we're not being lied to. Someone who is a master and skilled at their trait, that we can trust the proper information to be trustworthy, to be the actual knowledge, that we can do the research after we get the information, but someone that we have direct access to ask these certain questions about anything, about finances, about insurances, about dental care, about health care, about diet. We're all scattered around and have to go on this place called the internet just to find it. But we need access to people right there in your community who you can talk to right there face to face. I think that's something we all need to work on. Every family should have a lawyer on retainer, a doctor on call, and a financial advisor. Every family. But Absolutely. We're not there yet. We're just not there yet.
Agree.
If they were giving out awards, what would you rather have? Father of the Year or Man of the Year? You have to pick one.
Father of the Year.
Explain.
Because fathers usually do the manly stuff. Fathers usually do the manly stuff, and father isn't limited to your own children. It extends to the greater community. There's children in the community who don't have people to look up to. Like you said, somebody they can go to and get this information, get certain information. So being that makes you a father figure for people. So father.
Growing up, you may or may not growing up a lot of around violent people, but some of those violent criminals are some of the smartest people on the face of the earth. They have like this certain skill to be knowledgeable about different things. You ever met someone growing up where they were so smart and had so much potential, but the demon inside of them had reached too far that their natural decisions were always bad choices?
Here's the thing. I know a lot of people that will fall into that category, but I don't want to use the term demons. you know,
Okay,
because
let's say different word.
I don't want to demonize them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But,
You're right.
you know,
I'm sorry.
because
Words or spells. Excuse me.
I mean, I have friends, family members. You know, I was on that trajectory. You know, I was on that trajectory as a youth. You know, and like I said, that thing that sparks that make you start to analyze things and see it differently. You know, when you start going into your own head and asking yourself the questions, that's when you move away. You move out of that space. You change your environment. You change the people around you. You know, but yeah, man. I mean, yes, I've had friends, man. My dearest friends, man. My dearest friends. Yeah. I mean, right up to 2014, man. I left Trenton, New Jersey, 2014, 2015. I left Trenton, and the catalyst for that, I've been there all my life, man. Working with the youth in schools, you know, I never left my hood, do all
Right.
that, you know. But I left 2015 because two of my closest, I mean, dearest friends, man, two of my brothers, man, were murdered, man. You know, murdered, you know. And they were like legends in our neighborhood, in our town, you know. They were legends, yo. They were street legends, you know. And they made the city they made the city what the city was to a lot of people, you know. They loved the city, and the city loved them back up until that point, you know. And they were murdered, and they were murdered same weekend, well, within 24 hours, both of them. You know, we all were cool. You know, we were all tight. So when that happened, I had to dip. Yeah, I left. I was like, that's it for me. You know, so uh yeah, man. I mean, yeah, but they were, you know, my brother was he was brilliant. He was a polymath. You know, he's a polymath, man. He was he was a master of whatever he did. Everything that he did, he dominated it. You know, on every level. I mean, we were touring. You know, he would come out on the road with us and tour with us. Man. This guy, he matched wit with professors at universities. He matched wit with businessmen, entrepreneurs. He matched wit with street heads from other hoods. You know, he was just that kind of guy. He's a polymath, you know, and he was good at everything he did, man. He was one of those guys. He was good at everything he did.
I want to say something, and correct me if I'm wrong. His influence scaled you to be better, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
So he would be Black excellence.
Man sharpens man.
Absolutely.
You know, like still like iron sharpens iron. You know, so yeah, you know, yeah, he did. You know, that's how we were. That's how we were, man. We were tight. We were tight. You know, our little crew, we were tight. You know, but he was smart. He was smart. He was intelligent. You know, the wisdom is where I wanted to see him develop more. You know,
Right.
because
Right.
he wouldn't always act on what he knew. You can be so smart sometimes. You can be so intelligent sometimes that you think you can always win. You can always think your way out of situations. You will always dominate the reality. You know, and he felt like he could navigate the streets indefinitely. You know, regardless to how it was changing, regardless to how, you know, it's one of those things, man. You know, like we say, you know, wise, intelligent, being wise and being intelligent. You know, it's like having knowledge, acquiring knowledge, and having the ability to apply it in a way that changes your environment for the greater good. That's wisdom. That's wise. You know what I mean? So that's wise, intelligent. You know, being able to acquire knowledge and apply it in a way that changes your environment for the greater good. You know.
Absolutely. Hey, I appreciate that. Couple more questions. I'm gonna have you out of here. Validation from your partner. It's like you win a championship when you meet the right woman. Well, Mr. Intelligent, Mr. Wise, do you defend the title? Are you competing with the best versions of yourself to make sure your wife is getting the best versions of you?
Yeah, that's the aim. You ain't not. You know, hey, you know, for me, man, listen, relationships for me are human development protocol. You know, it's a human development protocol. It's a human development experience. That's what it's really about. It's about the development of human beings. You know, so when you meet someone, you know, the aim should be to see that person develop to their apex. You know what I mean? What does this person look like on full? What can I do to contribute to this person's fullness, right? And vice versa. You know, so developing that person 100%, they'd be like, oh, that's your better half, this your better half. No. Ain't no halves here. She's 100%. She's a whole. I'm a whole, and we're filling these cups. You know what I mean? We're gonna share the bread, but not eat from the same loaf. You know what I mean? We're gonna fill each other's cup, but not drink from the same cup. You know, so to speak. So it's about developing that person. It's a human development project. That's what relationships are for me. You know, anybody you meet in your life and y'all rocking on any level, the aim should be to see that person better off when they leave than they were when you met. You know what I mean? Regardless to what happens with y'all, regardless to the terms and conditions on which you part, that person should be better when y'all part.
Absolutely. I agree. I came up with something called operating at 100%. And what I mean by that is I took 5 categories: purpose, health, confidence, money, and knowledge. Again, that's purpose, health, confidence, money, and knowledge. I gave them all 20% each, totaling up to 100%. And what you do is you take an account of yourself every day, how you operate in your purpose, your health, confidence, money, and knowledge. Purpose meaning you're doing the things that you're called to do within your purpose. Health meaning you're doing the things, you're working out, meditating, eating right, fulfilling yourself. Confidence, you're doing it without any fear or any intimidation. Money, you made a little money, saved a little money, or invested a little money. And knowledge, you took in some new information. So Mr. Wise, Mr. Tim, I ask you this: how much of 100% in the last 24 hours have you been operating out of? That is purpose, health, confidence, money, and knowledge. All 20%.
Definitely each. Not health.
How much do you give yourself in health? Out
right
of 20%.
Now, I mean, I've been having some long nights, so I haven't been sleeping like I need to. So I've been going. So health will probably be about 10, 15 maybe. Knowledge will get the full 20% for sure. I'm always investing in knowledge and information. So purpose would be the highest. That's developing well. You know, I'm developing in that purpose, in my purpose. Well, confidence, 20%. I mean, I'm around there. I don't know if I had to give any other space that extra 5%, it would be money. So I'm gonna put money at 25%. I'm gonna put health at 15%, and that'll do it.
That'll do it. So it looks like you're looking at about 90% right now.
90%. Yeah.
You got 20 for purpose, 20 for health, 20 for confidence. You said money is what?
I mean, I'm giving money to 5% that I took from health.
Because I get it. So you operate at 100% right now is what you're telling me. Hey, for sure. Okay. Hey, listen, sometimes we lose a little seat to get to what we need to get to, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. You are now part of the Silhouette Boys Club. It is people like you who move in the shadows to help people like me shine. Now, before you go, we love to get referrals for the show. Is there anyone you would like to come on the show that you know that you can connect us to come on and drop these gems and answer these questions?
Wow. Yeah, I do. I mean, a lot of people, man. A lot of people.
Well, we'll contact you. Give us one name right now, and then we'll contact you, see who else might want to come on this show.
Man. Just so many people. I'm trying to see who would be available. Oh, man. Who would I send on here to get in this hot seat? Man, I know a lot of people, man. I know a lot of people. So.
We'll think it over, everybody. I know everybody's anticipating to hear what he's going to say. I'm sure he's going to think it.
Culture freedom of my group would be good for this platform, for sure.
Absolutely.
Teachers. He would be great. Chuck D, Public Enemy, would be
Let's
good.
do Chuck D and Culture. Hey, both of them. That would be great. You heard it here. That would be excellent. Now, before we go, I know you got a lot of things going on. Please tell the people what you would like us to focus our energy on to help uplift you and whatever you're doing in your endeavors.
Man, keep doing what y'all doing. Just keep providing platforms for these conversations, man. I think we need to have more conversations like this. I think these conversations represent protocol, code of conduct, so and standard operating procedures that could be, these viewpoints, these perspectives could become part of a greater standard operating procedure for the community.
Absolutely. But we want to know what you got going on. Also, give us your shout outs, your Instagrams, whatever you got that you want us to
Instagram at Wise Intelligent, spelled how you would find it in a dictionary. Twitter at Wise Intelligent, at Rapsnacks FDN. That's the foundation. At Stock Boss Up, and that's pretty much it. At the Poor Righteous Teachers.
Don't forget 3/5 of an MC. Don't forget about your book.
Yeah, and the book, the book, yes, 3/5 of an MC, Manufacturing of a Dumbed Down Rapper, wiseintelligent.com or Amazon.
Absolutely. Let's support this man, ladies and gentlemen. He got a lot of great things going on. A special shout out to Shantae Evans for helping this show come together. For those listening, you can reach me at solutionsformen@sheen1.com. That's solutionsformen@sheen1.com or at Sheen1 at all platforms. Let's continue this conversation on Clubhouse, Facebook, Twitter, or in the streets if you see me. Before we go, we end with a quote from Dr. Miles Monroe. True success is not measured on how much you have done or accomplished. It's not compared to what others have done or accomplished. True success is what you have done compared to what you could have done. In other words, living to the maximums, competing with yourself. It's living up to your own standards and capabilities. Success is satisfying your own personal passion and purpose in pursuit of personal excellence. So, question of the day, question of your life. Are you maximizing your life? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Solutions for Men. I would like to thank Wise Intelligent for coming on today, and peace and blessings.
Peace.